This episode is brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. What do you bring to a holiday party? Simple. A bottle of Casamigos. Because nothing gets the party started like a Casamigos margarita, which isn't just for summer. In fact, it's the perfect pour all year round. Casamigos is the gift that always feels right. Because anything goes with my Casamigos. Please drink responsibly. Imported by Casamigos Spirits Company, White Plains, New York. Casamigos Tequila, 40% alcohol by volume.
As a contractor, I don't pay for materials I don't use. So why would I pay for stuff I don't need in my mobile plan? That's why my Biz plan from Verizon Business is so perfect. Now I can choose exactly what I want, and I only pay for what I need.
Right now, with my Biz plan, get our best price, as low as $25 a line. Visit Verizon.com/business to get started today. New lines only. Price per month with 5+ lines. Includes auto pay and paper-free billing and promotional discount. Taxes, fees, economic adjustment charge. Applicable add-ons, prices, and terms apply. Guarantee applies to base monthly rate and stated discounts only. Add-on prices additional. Offers in January 5th, 2026.
Introducing Oakley Meta Vanguard, the new performance AI glasses designed for athletes. With hands-free capture on an action-ready ultra-wide camera, powerful open-ear speakers, and built-in Meta AI that syncs with your Garmin devices for real-time insights while you train. Take your performance to the next level with Oakley Meta Vanguard. Athletic intelligence is here. Learn more on meta.com.
Today we're gonna conquer your EV phobia in the all-electric Toyota BZ.
I can do this. I'm doing it!
One drive can change your mind in the all-electric BZ. Toyota, let's go places.
Purina believes no one should have to make the impossible choice between their own safety and their pets. But nearly half of domestic abuse survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Through the Purple Leash Project, Purina is helping create more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters so survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit Purina.com/purple to learn more.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special Thursday edition of the Kelly Green Hour, as we are here to get you set for the Black Friday matchup between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Chicago Bears. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody in the States, and hopefully you enjoy your turkey. Me personally, I think Thanksgiving is overrated, but that's a different story for a different day. I'm your host, LJ Harrell, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Connor Donald. Connor, what's going on, man?
Well, happy Thanksgiving to all my American brothers and sisters and Kelly Green Hour supporters. Things are going well up here. I mean, I'm taking my lunch break to do this recording, so I'm still working. Us Canadians, we're weird. We have Thanksgiving in October for whatever reason. The two need to be different. I don't know.
Hey, at least you get it in. Again, my favorite part of Thanksgiving is the football all day. And if I had to eat something during Thanksgiving, it would be macaroni and cheese. That's pretty much it. I don't like turkey isn't my forte. If I ever have a family and all that, we're doing chicken, but that's just me. So before we jump into it, as always, follow us on Twitter at Kelly Green Hour. Follow Connor on Twitter at Connor10. Follow me on Twitter at LJ Harrell54. And follow the Eagles Pinpool Network on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and wherever you get your podcasts at Eagles Pinpool Network. As I mentioned, this is our special Thursday edition. The Eagles play Friday this week. We've had to have a jumbled schedule this week as we get set for this game. Also, if you're joining us live in the chat, let us know. Same format. Let us know your prediction, your players to watch, keys to the game. We will get into all that, plus our unheralded player of the week for last week in the National Football League, which was week 12. So the Philadelphia Eagles come into this game 8-3. The Chicago Bears come into this game 8-3. They've done it kind of differently. The Eagles have kind of chugged along. They've had one very impressive game, and that was the second Giants game in which they blew them out. Everything else has been pretty much close. The Bears have had to come back in, I think, 6 of their wins. They've just, I get it. They're playing they have a last place schedule. So they haven't had the toughest of schedules. They have a new head coach in Ben Johnson. Obviously a whole new coaching staff, and they've done a good job up to this point, kind of bringing everybody together. The question becomes, Connor, 8-3, are they a good 8-3? Are they lucky 8-3? What are your early thoughts on the Chicago Bears?
I thought that for the Chicago Bears, it was going to be heavily reliant on, what connection Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams were going to be able to make and how quickly they were going to be able to make it. And like you said, five of their games have been fourth quarter comeback victories. And you can see that more recently they have started to the offense has started to look a lot better. It's starting to look like more of the playbooks opening up. Like there's a lot more comfort between Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams that there was. I mean, did anyone expect the Bears to be 8-3? Probably not. But I'm not going to say it's lucky because I mean, when you play those comeback wins and you actually succeed in getting those comeback wins, multiple times, I don't necessarily see that as lucky. Like this is a team that you can't let stick around, that you have to make sure you make Caleb Williams make some mistakes, keep him in the pocket, and teams haven't been able to do that. And especially, more recently where they've rattled off 4 straight wins. Obviously, this is against Cincinnati, the New York Giants, the Minnesota Vikings, who are definitely a shell of what they were last year, and then the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I mean, when you think about it, they've put up 570 yards of offense, 391, 320, 328, put up 47 points, put up 24, put up 31. They're not, they're playing some scrub-like defenses, but they're putting up the yardage, they're putting up the requisite points, and they're winning games. So I'm not going to say that they're a lucky 8-3. They're a surprising 8-3 if I were to pick a point.
They are surprising, but looking at the teams that they've beaten, Las Vegas stinks, Washington stinks, Saints stink, Cincinnati stinks, New York stinks. Like you mentioned, since Minnesota isn't as good, Pittsburgh played without Aaron Rodgers. So like, I'm going to put a little break on it just because like their schedule hasn't been hard. If you look at now, obviously the Eagles 8-3 is a little bit different. I mean, they've beaten the Chiefs, they've beaten the Rams, the Bucks, the Packers, the Lions. So like, if you're looking at strength of schedule, obviously the Eagles being, the defending Super Bowl champs having the tougher schedule, the Eagles wins have been more impressive. Now the Bears may look a little bit better. You mentioned that offensively, but I point out the defense. Cincinnati has the 32nd worst ranked defense, and it's only 32nd because there's only 32 teams. It would be 38th if there were 38 teams. While when they played Dallas didn't have, the new guys that they have on the on the team, Logan Wilson and Quinnen Williams and some injury guys back, but they're the 31st ranked defense. Las Vegas might be the worst team in football. They're so bad watching them. They gave up 10 sacks to Cleveland last week. New Orleans isn't good. Their last loss was to Baltimore, and they started off the season losing to Minnesota and Detroit. Are they better than last year? Yes, they're better than last year. I will say that, but I'm, again, pumping the brakes. I want to see them, looking at their upcoming schedule beyond us. As this takes a second to load, there we go. They have Green Bay, Cleveland's defense good. They have Green Bay, Cleveland, Green Bay, San Francisco, and Detroit. Like, we're going to learn a lot about this Chicago Bears team. And this game is important for both Chicago and Philly because right now they're tied in second place in the NFC. And the Eagles have an easier schedule down the stretch. So, if they lose this game, it might not. Who even knows if if Chicago's going to win their division? They have Green Bay, they have Detroit. And again, you face Green Bay twice and Detroit once. So you have 3 matchups against those 2 teams. So who knows what they're going to look like in a month? Are they still going to be in playoff contention? They probably will be. They'll probably be in that wild card, picture. But still, the Eagles have been checking off the boxes of beating the contenders in the NFC, right? We talked about the Rams, the Bucks, the Packers, the Lions. So that's all the Eagles need to do. And you have the Eagles who are 3-0 against the NFC North. You have the Bears who are 3-0 against the NFC East. And it was funny that the Eagles social media team put out that talking about the alliance, how it has ended. I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, this is going to be a big match. And the Eagles, I think having this game on a short week is good after the debacle in Dallas, giving up 24 unanswered points to lose that game. Hope this should be good for them to just get back onto the field, put that Dallas game behind them, get in front of the home fans, and, if hopefully start out quick. Because if they start out quick, I think that this time they're not going to take their foot off the pedal.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's important to know with the Chicago Bears, as with every team, they're dealing with some significant injuries. Jalen Johnson, Jaquan Brisker, who they're both going to be back, according to Ian Rappaport. And then you have other names like T.J. Edwards,
I think he's going to play.
Shamar Turner, Trayman Edmonds.
Edmonds is on IR, so he won't play.
Yeah, Deo Odingbo. Like, they have a handful of guys, like, key players who they've been missing for large chunks of the season. And while the Chicago Bears defense ranks 27th and 27th, one thing that they are very good at doing is forcing turnovers. They rank number 1 in forcing turnovers. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can continue to win a turnover battle against a team like the Eagles, who generally win the turnover battle as well. It'll be interesting to see who comes out on top. Obviously, I feel like you can trust Jalen Hurts more in this spot to make the right decisions and not put the ball in harm's way, as infuriating at times as that is for us. He doesn't put the ball in harm's way in the same way that Caleb Williams probably will and does. I mean, he's gotten a little bit better in regards to turnovers. Through the first 4 weeks, there was 4 turnovers by the offense, and since then, in their last 2, 4, 6, 7 weeks, they only have 4 turnovers. So they've definitely cleaned that up as part of what they're doing as an offense. But their defense, like I said, is the number 1 defense in forcing turnovers. They've forced 24 turnovers, and after this past week, you had the Saquon Barkley fumble, you had the Gibson fumble. We have some situations to look back on and say, let's make sure that we clean this up, and let's hope that we clean it up, because we know that Jalen Hurts can protect the football, but can the rest of this team ensure that the ball's protected? And I think that another major factor that's going to come into this game that we kind of didn't expect until Tuesday's injury report came out, we're likely playing without Devontae Smith, which I think is going to play such a massive factor.
I think Devontae's going to play. They added an illness to it, so I think he hasn't practiced because of an illness. And Devontae doesn't. If there's somebody like Devontae's one guy that probably doesn't need practice time, and then I get it that sometimes if a player doesn't practice the first 2 games, he typically isn't out there. But I do think Devontae will play. And personally, that's just me. But
I hope so.
I mean, but if you think about it, Saquon has a groin injury, which might be a blessing in disguise in terms of let's get Tank Bigsby more carries, because he's averaging now, again, a small sample size, but he's averaging 9 yards a carry. So instead of getting him 1 carry like we did last week, maybe we can get him 10 carries to take a little bit of a burden off of Saquon and get the running game going, which will help the offensive line.
To that point quickly, like I saw a video, it was on Instagram, where a guy looked at 4 or 5 runs from the Dallas Cowboys game, and he talked about Saquon Barkley and how he's not hitting the holes that are there for him. He's trying to get out wider. He's kind of dancing in the backfield, taking up precious seconds. Whereas Tank Bigsby, he gets the ball and it's like he knows where the hole is and he hits the hole. I don't understand why Saquon Barkley isn't necessarily seeing it that way. And I know people are saying, and I think that we spoke about on the last episode, is he playing like a satisfied player? Is he happy? He got his money. He got his Super Bowl. Now he's just kind of just going through the motions and we're not going to see the same Saquon Barkley that we saw last season ever again. I hope that's not true, and I hope that we see more from him. But I agree with you. I think, you want to have Saquon Barkley out there. He's a key contributor. He did great in the pass game. He was highly effective in the pass game against the Dallas Cowboys. But, I mean, you got to go with the hot hand and the hand that's working, and you got to feed, like, if this guy's going to, like, let's say it regresses a bit, like he doesn't average 9, let's cut that in half. 4.5 yards per carry is still almost double what we're seeing from Saquon Barkley this year. So that's more than enough to really support this defense and make defenses start to respect the rushing attack to open up the passing attack.
I will say one thing though, like Saquon has done that his entire career in terms of trying to make a big play. Now, would we prefer him to just get the ball, hit the hole, get 4 or 5 yards, and maybe he'll break it another time? Yeah, but I mean, he did the same, the way he's kind of trying to pick his holes. He did the same thing last year. He was just able to hit it. The offensive line was healthier. It is both the offensive line and Saquon that are struggling this year. So, I mean, while we want Saquon to get the ball, hit the hole, get as many yards as he can get, he's just, I hate it, like a little sliver away from breaking off a 60-yarder, which could change his season around, change the running game around, change the offense around. So, it's tough because we want the running game to get going, and we want Saquon to just get positive yards, stop dancing in the backfield. But that's what he does. He did that in college. He's done it. Did it with the Giants. He did it last year. So we just kind of have to live with it to this respect. But it doesn't mean we can't give Bigsby, more carries to just get him going.
Yeah, and I mean, we're not saying like 50-50. It could be a 70-30 split, and instead of seeing Saquon Barkley rush the ball 25 times a game, we see him cut down 6 or 7 carries, and hopefully that helps the offense altogether because they're getting different looks, different running backs. It's not you're not seeing Saquon's going to do things a lot different than Tank Bigsby's going to do. I mean, I think it may be a giveaway that Tank Bigsby, if he's out on the field, it's likely going to be a run play. That would be the only thing because he's not the world's most effective pass catcher, been all that important in a pass catching scenario with either team that he's been with in his career. But I mean, I do think that it's important, like you have to get the hot hands work, and like Nakobe Dean came back from his injury and he's eaten a ton into Jihad Campbell's playtime, and it's just simply because Nakobe Dean is the better player. He's producing more in the situation, and I think at this point Bigsby's producing more in the situations he's given, and we're not saying a 50-50 split, but to see him out there 30% of the time and still have Saquon Barkley out there 70% of the time and on all passing downs is no insult to Saquon Barkley. It's just making sure you have fresh legs and the hot legs out there running, hitting the holes, and hopefully getting some big plays to open up big plays for Saquon when he gets out there.
Yeah, definitely. Adams Exploits is joining us. Happy Thanksgiving. Connor, you also, you're in Canada. Thanks for joining us. Adam, we appreciate you joining us live here on the Thursday morning. It's weird to say that. We're usually Friday evening. So, I mean, I wish I could have Thursdays to do this in the morning. TJ Edwards probably won't play. Again, I was going to talk about this later. There are a number of former Eagles on this Chicago Bears defense. When you look at it, TJ Edwards, Kevin Byard, CJ GJ, it's funny, CJ GJ is balling out with the Bears, and the Eagles have injury issues in there at the safety position. We could surely use him. I wish we would have assigned him, but that's a different story for a different day. Adam also says the problem is the running game is almost non-existent, so they have to throw. The run game isn't setting up the pass game. Definitely isn't. Like, they're supposed to help each other. The pass game is supposed to help the run game and vice versa, and it really hasn't done that so far this season for the Eagles. And Devontae's a warrior, obviously. With his frame, there are a lot of people talking about the size that he has coming out of Alabama. After winning the Heisman Trophy, people just didn't think that he was going to be able to survive in the NFL. But his route running is impeccable. He's one of the top 5, if not top 3 route runners in the NFL. He catches almost everything, and I say almost because we saw what happened in the Detroit game. The first 2 passes that were thrown his way, he didn't catch. But Devontae is so good. And again, the position that he plays and the amount of time he spent in this offense, he doesn't need to practice to play. So again, he's probably gonna be questionable on the injury report when it comes out later today, or I don't know or when the game statuses come out later today, he'll probably be questionable. But I have no issue. I think he's going to play tomorrow. If he can walk, he's going to play. That's just the type of person that Devontae is. So I can't wait. I
think it's important. It's so important that he plays. Like Jahan Dotson and Darius Cooper are not going. Like, it's just going to move all the attention over and onto AJ Brown and just make this passing offense. It does most of the time, but you still have to respect Devontae Smith quite a bit. You don't have to necessarily show as much respect to Dotson and Cooper.
You don't, but I still, the reason why I say he goes to AJ, on Devontae's touchdown against the Packers? Lions, whatever game it was, it was the Packers. The safety came down to bite on AJ. While AJ's numbers aren't there and he doesn't get the targets and people say he's injured, he's not running, so he still commands the number 1 eyes from the opposing defense, which is allowing Devontae, again, who's really good still, to get the one-on-one coverages. So, I mean, I'm not saying that Jahan Dotson and Darius Cooper are going to do what Devontae does, but having AJ Brown on the other side still opens up the other receivers. And hopefully, and if Devontae doesn't play, again, I think he's going to play, Dallas Goedert will get involved more, and having AJ command whether it's Brisker and if Jalen Johnson plays, they put two guys on him and roll coverages that way. That'll open up the other side for Dotson, for Goddard, and whoever else they decide to play at the receiver position.
I agree. It'll be interesting to see what happens, but I agree with you. Like, you have to respect A.J. Brown and his capabilities after the catch. Devontae Smith is one of those guys who does a lot of his work over top, which is really good. They complement each other extremely well, and it's part of what makes this passing attack such a threat when we're able to actually get it going. The Chicago option trader, welcome aboard, a Chicago fan. He says we are going to beat the crap out of y'all tomorrow, bear down. It's going to be a good game. I still think it's going to be a really good game, and playing on these short weeks. Like you said, I hope that, the Eagles put the Dallas Cowboys game behind them and take this as a fresh start, because we definitely need it. That should have been, a gut punch reality check, that Dallas Cowboys game and that loss, and blowing it. It's tied for the Dallas Cowboys' biggest comeback. So of course they're treating it, like their Super Bowl and this humongous thing, because for them it is, and for us it is a huge gut punch. It is a really hard thing to go back and look at and just how good it looked for one quarter, and then just how bad it truly got for 3 quarters in all aspects of the game. Was so hard to watch, and something that we hadn't really seen from the Eagles this year. There's always been facets of the game that were able to get going and keep going when one was letting you down. But unfortunately, it just didn't happen that way against the Cowboys.
I will say one thing about AJ, because I know that there are fans on both sides. They're on AJ's side. They're against AJ. I will continue to say this. What AJ said was not incorrect. AJ was right about what he said. And when he was targeted against Dallas in that, the first 20 minutes of the game, until they finally started getting him they targeted him the first drive pretty much, and where he scored the touchdown. That's what people keep saying, that all he cares about is stats, and most receivers care about stats. Let's be real. But he wants to help the offense. And when he was getting the ball last week, he was in that first drive, he was helping the offense. And then they finally started getting the ball in the fourth quarter, and he didn't look washed catching the ball, spinning out of, breaking tackles. He didn't look washed on the slant. Like, he wants to help he doesn't like to see the offense be frustrated, or, to struggle. That frustrates him. Like, it frustrates us fans. And again, I'll say what I said on, Friday or Monday. Maybe he did go behind, in closed doors, talk to somebody and voice his frustration about the offense. And maybe they were just like, okay, yeah, we'll fix it. And nothing has changed. That's why he started, social media posts and coming out to again, I don't disagree with what AJ said. So find a way to get him involved, and I don't think they forced him the ball last week. It was part of the game plan, and he was getting open. He was catching the ball, and he was winning his matchups. So if they can continue to find a way to do that, it would be tougher without Devontae, because again, having AJ across from Devontae helps AJ, or it helps Devontae. Having Devontae across from AJ helps AJ. Let's be honest, they work off of each other. That's why I don't want AJ to go anywhere next year, because you're not going to be able to get a receiver in here that's as good as AJ that's going to be able to help Devontae. It's going to be almost impossible. So I'm hoping that the Eagles, and whatever issues are going on, they're able to fix it. But yeah, this week, the Eagles are going to have to find a way to get AJ involved, get Dallas Goedert involved. Let's find a way to get the running game involved. Again, the Bears are getting healthy in their secondary. Jalen Johnson will most likely be back. They have, I think, 3 of the top 5 guys with interceptions are on the Bears. Kevin Byard has 5. Does Wright have 5, I think?
Yeah, Wright has 5. Yep.
Yeah, so they are doing an outstanding job at taking the ball away, as you mentioned. So again, the one thing that Jalen does a great job at is not putting the ball in the harm's way. So they're going to have to continue that. Saquon's going to have to hold on to the ball. Gibson's going to have to not be on the field. But yeah, so we've been wanting to see it all season, but I think the short week could also help kind of quote unquote dumb down the game plan, if that makes sense. Get whatever plays that Jalen likes and the best plays that the team runs, and just focus on them. They didn't practice all week. It was pretty much all walkthroughs. So dumb down the game plan, get the plays you like, and find a way to exploit the weaknesses of the Bears defense. They're not that great against the run. Maybe this is the week that they can get the running game going. Who knows? Again, Tank Bigsby, use him. Not saying give him 20 carries, but get him more than one carry in this game.
Yeah, so TJ Woowit says, Bear down, happy Thanksgiving. Another Bears fan. Look at us go. We couldn't even get a Cowboys fan out for a review show or preview show. He says, my Bears have struggled against QB runs, and we know Jalen Hurts is a beast. 8 rushing TDs this year. That's one thing to look out for, too. I mean, when they've rolled Jalen out and they have given Jalen Hurts the opportunity to run the football, he has been so good, but it feels like that's one of the things that they're trying to not do, and kind of making an attempt to keep him safe as well from injury or from maybe fumbling the ball. I'm not 100% sure, but whenever they go back and do that QB draw or they're in the red zone with him, Jalen Hurts is extremely effective with his legs, and I'd like to see them continue to use Jalen Hurts more like that, because I think that can also open things up for, Saquon Barkley and Tank Bigsby. You have to have all facets, like we saw last season when we had the run game going a lot, and that set up the passing game, but also for Saquon Barkley to be as effective as he was, they had to respect that Jalen Hurts would potentially do stuff with his legs and might potentially run the ball as well. So I think that it's going to be really important for that. And the turnover thing, like you said, 16 interceptions and 10 forced fumbles or 11 forced fumbles. 10 forced fumbles by this Chicago Bears team. While I think it will be difficult for them to maybe get the interceptions off of Jalen Hurts, and that's not being, that's not fanboy Eagle. That's just obvious. Jalen Hurts just doesn't put the ball in harm's way, doesn't really commit turnovers that way. I mean, he's got 1 or 2 interceptions in his last 500 pass attempts. It's massive. He just doesn't do it. So, but forcing fumbles, the Eagles have at times, their hands have seemed a bit slippery, and they've given up the ball with some fumbles. So hopefully, hold the ball a bit tighter. Don't leave any air between, your elbow and the rest of your body. Hug that ball really close and make sure that you don't give them the opportunity to make that mistake.
I do think this comment's funny. Can our offense be dumbed down more than it has already? That's pretty good. I was thinking that as I was saying it. It's very tough to dumb down an offense that is pretty dumb right now.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of what you've said in, I think you say in almost every single preview episode, you can tell when it's going to be a run. You can tell when it's going to be a pass. We can all tell these route concepts are basic as hell and
rudimentary. It's elementary.
Exactly. It's just too simple for defenses to read, and it's not conducive to creating any type of big plays or any type of success or anything downfield for this Eagles team, where we know we've seen some big plays from Jahan Dotson and some big plays from Devontae Smith. We know it's in the offense's capabilities, and we need to start doing more of those. And trust me, you can still have a dumbed down offense and move the ball downfield. There are plenty of those offenses out there in the league right now. So it just, to me, this offense needs to get going. And I mean, it's going to be vital that Devontae Smith plays. I think, I'm hoping we see in a limited capacity today. It could just be that he's out there jogging and taking part lightly in drills. But usually if he doesn't practice again, and I'm just hoping, I just don't want to see a D or an O next to his name when that report comes out this evening. We can't see that because this offense needs all the weapons at its disposal, despite the struggles that we're going through. Losing Brown or losing Smith would be huge and would be a massive benefit for the Chicago Bears defense to take advantage of.
Yeah, definitely. And looking at the just quickly before we jump over to the Bears offense, a battle I'm looking at, Montez Sweat against Mailata or Fred Johnson, whoever he's going to go up against, and Grady Jarrett against the interior of the Eagles offensive line. We always talk about that the Eagles prioritize the lines, and while they do, their offensive line has not been good this year. They were the best offensive line last year, but this year nowhere near it. Playing through injuries, just not playing well at all. Hopefully Cam Jurgens can get better. Dickerson and Steen is just, he's not Mekhi Becton, and I get it. Mekhi Becton wasn't great in the pass game, but he was a road grader in the run game, and that's what they're missing right now. Last week's game against Dallas is a game last year where the Eagles would have just salted away by running the football. they weren't able to run the football. That's why they lost that game. So we'll see. And question, what's the weather report looking like? It's going to be cold and it's going to be windy. We'll see what the passing game looks like for the Eagles. It could be almost like the Detroit game on Sunday night a couple of weeks ago. It's supposed to be like 30-ish mile an hour winds. It's going to be in the 40s.
And we remember how Jalen Hurts was in that game. He was off target on some plays that he generally makes. So that'll definitely be interesting to see. Hopefully, once you get a couple of those games under your sleeve there, hopefully that means that you're more accustomed to it and you can start making those plays. Because, unless you're going to into a dome or going down south, this is football now for us, especially up here playing at the Link.
And look, it's great because we were at the Packers, which is cold, at home against the Lions, which is cold, in against the Cowboys, hotter weather, more controlled weather. The Bears would be cold. In LA, hot weather. Back here against the Raiders, probably going to be cold. They're just the inconsistency, and it still bothers me that the Eagles will not have back-to-back home games this year. It sucks. The schedule was not fun. Can we get back-to-back home games? That would be nice. But let's jump over to the Bears offense. I am worried. The one thing I'm worried about is Ben Johnson taking advantage of Adoree Jackson and Sidney Brown. Sidney Brown's going to start at safety next to Reed Blankenship. Adoree Jackson apparently cleared concussion protocol last week against Dallas, just didn't come back in as precautionary. He may have been on the injury report, but he was practicing in full. That they apparently don't. Vic Fangio doesn't like Keely Ringo, doesn't like Jacorian Bennett. I don't want to see Cooper DeJean on the outside. I want him in the slot. Once he went to the outside last week, Dallas started running right up the middle, and that's where all the action is, and that's where you want Cooper DeJean, who's if not the best, one of the best nickel corners in the league and a great tackler from that position. When it comes to Sidney Brown, I just don't trust. He's the one that hurt Andrew Makuba.
He broke Makuba's ankle, exactly. Single-handedly broke it.
The Eagles were trying to give him the starting position, and he wouldn't take it because he's not any good. They didn't really shore up that the depth at safety behind Blankenship, who I don't think is any good anyway. But he's the best option that we have, as we do have Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon have been activated off IR, so they're going to play this week. That's what I anticipated, at least on the Jalen Johnson front for the Bears. So imagine that Jalen Johnson potentially up against A.J. Brown should be a good matchup. Adam says Sidney Brown should only play on special teams. I'd consider Carter at safety. I would too. I would put Carter at safety over Sidney Brown. I don't think Sidney Brown is any good. We have Q on one side, Jackson on the other, DeJean in the slot, Reed, and then I would go Carter. But if Sidney Brown struggles, which isn't really talking too much, like it can't happen. Maybe we will see Carter.
He looked bad against the Cowboys. He was caught at a position, bad tackling for him on a couple of occasions. Brown.
And Carter ran into Quinion on that late play to Pickens that put Dallas deeper into field goal territory on their game-winning drive. So, yeah,
Brown's been a part of this defense for a longer time.
I know.
He doesn't have as much of an excuse as Carter does, but
I get it. I get it, but I get it. It's just the Eagles put themselves in this position with not having great depth at the safety position. And with it being a short week, it's not like they could have brought somebody in. Andre Sam's going to be brought up, or is going to be elevated from the practice squad. If we see him on the field, then we're probably in deep, deep trouble. I mentioned it on Monday. I'd have brought in Justin Simmons. He knows Vic Fangio's defense. He just hasn't played with these guys. Who knows what's going to happen after what happens tomorrow? If they struggle, they have a couple of extra days because they play Monday night next week. You bring somebody in over the weekend. Obviously, the trade deadline has long passed, so they're going to have to figure out something at the safety position with Makuba out probably for the rest of the regular season. But Ben Johnson worries me in that he's going to find the weakness, which again is going to be Adoree and Brown, who probably are going to play on the same side of the field. Really worries me, and take advantage of that. But when you look at the Bears, the Bears do have some good weapons on offense. Obviously, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Luther Burden. Their tight ends are good. DeAndre Swift, former Eagle, he's been running pretty good. And I'm still not a Caleb Williams believer. he's playing really well. They're 8-3, and so you can't doubt that. But I'm still skeptical about him. I wasn't that big of a fan in college either, when he was at Oklahoma and when he went to USC. So I'm going to be intrigued to be able to watch him for a full game against this Eagles defense.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he can do some really great things. He's also at times, and much earlier in the season, like he seems to be a bit better down these past 7 games. But earlier in the season, he did some things that really made you scratch your head. And so Caleb Williams can do Caleb Williams things, and that can be both a negative and it can also be a very positive. And one of the things that worries me is his ability to get out of the pocket and run, because that's one thing. We could not get any pressure on Dak Prescott this past week.
Is the Bears offensive line as good as Dallas's offensive line?
I don't think arguably, no. I don't think they're better, but also then that brings in the element that Caleb Williams is more mobile than Dak Prescott is. So when forced to move or when forced to run, Caleb Williams can definitely do it. And I think that makes it all the more important, like you kind of alluded to, that Cooper DeJean absolutely must be playing in the nickel and in the middle of that defense, because you need people who can make tackles and you need people who are going to be able to keep a close eye on Caleb Williams and the action that's happening in front of them. If you move Cooper DeJean away, like we saw, like when Reed went down, the defense started to look bad. When they had to move Cooper DeJean outside, the defense looked absolutely horrible, like a shell of itself. So we can tell, as much as we may not like Reed Blankenship, he's clearly pretty important to this defense. And also, it's important that Adoree Jackson be out there, apparently, because while we may not love him as a CB2, we do not want to have Cooper DeJean outside and Cooper DeJean being at risk of not being in the middle where we need him, where he's so effective with Bond and Dean, and they just make life very difficult for people who are trying to run the football. And this Chicago Bears offense ranks number 2 in rushing. They love to run the ball. Kyle Menange has become a important part of their show. Monangai has been very important in the.
He's also from the area,
game.
By the way. He went to Rutgers. He went to Rutgers, which is nearby. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
And so he's really important in like the short game. DeAndre Swift, I mean, he's averaging nearly 3 receptions a game. He's obviously continuing to be important in the run game and in the pass catching game. And this Chicago Bears team, one of the things that's going to make them so effective, especially for Ben Johnson and finding the weak spot, is they spread the ball around. That nobody on this team in this passing attack has more than 4 receptions per game this year. Not even their number 1 wide receiver in Romeo Dunze. So that just goes to show you that it doesn't matter who the player is. It just matters who they're matched up against defensively. But he's going to be able to find the right person to take advantage of the right opening in this defense. And it'll be really interesting to see, if they're able, because while none of these receivers, I think Romeo Dunze has 650 receiving yards, and that's the most receiving yards on the team. While they may not have this 1,000-yard receiver or, one of those top 10 wide receivers in receiving yards, they're spread out very well, and they all can make plays at any point in time. Especially with their legs, like DJ Moore's a run after the catch type of guy. Luther Burns a run after the catch type of guy. So it's going to be really important that this defense keep the play in front of them and stay fundamentally sound, which we saw, up against Dallas. They were not fundamentally sound. They made a lot of mistakes. They had a lot of penalties. They missed some tackles. And it's going to be important that, I feel like a broken record because it's one of the keys to this defense every single week. But we have the type of schedule where you have to be fundamentally sound and you have to make plays when they're in front of you and not miss them. And that's what worries me the most about a guy like Sidney Brown and a guy like Adoree Jackson. Once the play ends up near them or in front of them, they cannot seem to actually make plays.
And so the one thing, again, I mentioned how the Bears offensive line isn't as good as Dallas's, and the Eagles front 4 struggled. I'm going to be intrigued to see if the Eagles continue or if Vic Fangio continues to blitz Nakobe Dean. We saw what he did. He ran right through Javonte Williams on a play to get a sack on Dak last week. I think the linebackers are going to be key for the Eagles to keep, Caleb Williams from running all over the place. He's going to try to extend the play. When he runs or when he moves around, he's not looking to actually run the football. He does a good job of keeping his eyes downfield to be able to try to find a receiver or tight end, whatever, open. So the Eagles are going to have to to stay like in their coverage. You know, when Caleb breaks the pocket, don't run up to try to tackle him, because then he'll just float it over him and hit a big play to Moore or to, you know, Loveland or Komet or Swift or whoever it is, Ndunze, Burden, whoever it is. That's what they'll do. So again, you know, this is going to be one of the, we saw what Fangio was able to do against Detroit and Dan Campbell. Ben Johnson's, their offenses are similar to an extent, but now, you know, Ben Johnson has video of what the Eagles did against Detroit, and he can see what they did well and try to counteract that for this game on Friday, which is definitely going, you know, he's a great play caller in Detroit. Guy has his team at 8-3, albeit not against tough schedule, but still, he deserves a lot of credit for what they've been able to do. And we're about to find out what this Bears team is all about over the next, you know, month or so.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's no disrespect to the Chicago Bears when you say something like that, LJ, because we just want to see them against, you know, the elite, the top teams, the ones that, you know, if you get into that, you know, that wild card spot, you're going to be playing these teams. You're not going to face a Las Vegas Raiders in the postseason. You are going to play the Green Bay Packers, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Detroit Lions of the world, the LA Rams, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We want to see them up against those types of teams and see what they're capable of doing. It's not to say that, you know, we're big proponents of it. You can only play what's in front of you. You can only beat what's in front of you based on what the schedule makers give you. So this is no disrespect. They're 8-3 for a reason. They've beat the teams they're supposed to beat. They've gone in with their, you know, last place schedule and done what people probably ahead of schedule a bit, but they're beating teams that they're supposed to beat. Now it'll be interesting to see, can you keep up with the ones who are starting to run the NFC? Can you keep up with them? And can you position yourself well to be a really respected team in the playoffs, which I think, you know, I think that it's very, very possible that they can do that and that we will respect them that way, especially with the defense getting healthier. And like one of the couple of Bears fans we have with us today said, Montez Sweat's been heating up. He's up to 7.5 sacks. I think he's forced 3 fumbles on his own. He's coming into his own as well. And then Squeegee67 says, I'd like to watch a game without needing to visit my cardiologist afterwards. I think we're all together in that. Both of us are together as Eagles and Bears fans in that, because the Eagles, while we may not have the comeback wins, we don't have a whole lot of games where we've won by more than one score. And those games are stressful enough on the body and stressful enough to watch, especially when you know what we're capable of.
You thought we were going to get that
lead.
We thought we were going to get that last week when we were up 21-0 into the second quarter, and of course, that did not happen.
Yeah, and for my last point on like the Bears offense and up against the defense, I do think for the most part, we have the personnel to match up with most of the Bears' weaponry, but there's always going to be, you know, with Sidney Brown likely back there, how healthy, how good is Adoree Jackson to go? What version of Adoree Jackson are we going to see? There may be somebody out there running free, running wild, or taking advantage of something in this defense. But for the most part, I feel confident, like one of them was saying Loveland's a beast, Menage's underrated. I do think we still have the people to match up with them, but I do respect that they all pose very unique threats to this defense, and it's going to be very important to keep the play in front of you and make the play when it's in your area, and we have a couple guys who really can't be trusted in that situation.
Yeah, and it wasn't going to happen because it was a short week. We were never going to change play callers this week, but this is going to be another, if the Eagles offense struggles to do anything, like if they go for again, we seems to play one good half and then forget how to play football on the offensive side of, you know, for another half. If we have another struggle like that, it wouldn't shock me if going into that Chargers game with a couple extra days that we do see a new play caller, whether it is Sirianni, whether it is Leffler, whether it is Parks Frazier, whoever it's going to be. The Eagles are going to have to figure something out because it can't be Patullo. Like, Patullo is way in over his head. And we hear it every week from Sirianni, how he has to, it's almost like what Andy Reid used to say, just not in those same words. You got to put his team in a good position. So, like, 14 penalties last week cannot happen again this week. Catching a punt inside the 5-yard line can't happen this week. Now, granted, the Eagles didn't give up any points on that drive, but they could have had the ball and they could have driven the ball to go put up points to win that game if Gibson doesn't fumble that. And your favorite punt returner's back, Covey. I'm still not a fan of Covey. Just catch the ball, I guess, whatever. But we'll see. And obviously the injury report is going to be very key for the Philadelphia Eagles today. And the status of Devontae, the status Saquon's going to play.
It's just Devontae, because I think the others, it's Lane Johnson's not going to play.
Saquon's not going to play.
Been a limited participant, so he's going to play. But Lane won't play, Makuba won't play, and I can't remember if there was somebody else on there.
We'll see what Reed's status is. I mean,
yep, Reed.
Fangio pretty much did say he's going to play. But yeah, definitely Devontae is going to be the key one for the Eagles. He's important. Even if he's not targeted, he's important just because.
With new, gentler scented Clorox disinfecting wipes, clean finally smells as good as it feels. On everything from lamps to ceiling fans. Even on your kid's toy shark. Oh, ouch. Clorox disinfecting wipes. Now available in crisp lemon. Find it on Amazon. Clorox. Clean feels good.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. Black Friday Game Day on Prime is an epic day of live sports. It all starts at 9 a.m. Eastern with the Capital One Skins game. Then, Black Friday football returns when the Bears take on the Eagles at 3 p.m. And it culminates with the final night of Emirates NBA Cup Group play with Bucks Knicks at 7 p.m. and Mavs Lakers at 10 p.m. Black Friday Game Day, only on Prime.
The Who's Down in Who Newville were making their list, but some didn't know Walmart has the best brands for their gifts.
What about toys? Do they have brands kids have been wanting all year?
Yep, Barbie, Tony's, and Lego. Gifts that will make them all cheer.
Do you mean they have all the brands I adore?
They have Nintendo, Nespresso, Apple, and more.
What about...
So the Who answered questions from friends till they were blue. Each one listened and shouted, from Walmart? Who knew? Shop gifts from top brands for everyone on your list in the Walmart app.
This episode is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like needing the protection of an offensive guard on the football field, but getting an elementary school crossing guard. Sure, they're both guards, but you can only trust one to keep your quarterback safe when the game is on the line. So don't settle for just any insurance when there's State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Running a business means I wear lots of hats. Luckily, when it's time to put on my hiring hat, I can count on LinkedIn to make it easy. I can post a job for free or pay to promote it and get 3 times more qualified candidates. Imagine finding your next great hire in 24 hours. 86% of small businesses do. With LinkedIn, I can also easily share my job with my network. No other job site lets me do that. Post your free job at linkedin.com/achieve. That's linkedin.com/achieve. Terms and conditions apply.
He can still command a good coverage. Like he could command. There's Jalen Johnson. If they decide to put Wright on AJ, but also have a safety out there, that means Jalen Johnson would be on Devontae. That's taking a really good defender away from somebody else, away from Goddard, away from Dotson. Again, I know we're going to the second or third receiver, but so that could potentially open things up. For the Eagles. Also thinking the injury report for is TJ Edwards going to play? We know somebody said they don't think he's going to play. Edmonds is already out. So maybe the middle of the field for the Bears defense could be affected, with Dallas. And again, Jalen doesn't really throw over the middle of the field, but maybe this could be a time that they could exploit that and get Goddard involved in the passing game, or maybe we start running Jalen this game and that could be up the middle. And I'm not talking tush-push runs. I'm talking QB draws, which they've picked good spots with that when he's done it, and he's been able to get yards. So we'll see if they can continue or if they can build off of that and get this offense going, and hopefully something changes and we come away with the victory Black Friday.
The issue on the QB runs is they're just so few and far between compared to what we're used to, and I get protecting your quarterback.
I do think that, but because Collinsworth was saying it against when we were playing the Lions, that was a Sunday night game. He's like using or they're saving that pretty much for playoffs, like for the end of the year in the playoffs. We're almost in that break glass in case of emergency. The running game isn't good when he's not a threat. And like him being a threat helped Saquon last year. Now Saquon obviously had an all-time great year, but when the quarterback's not going to run, you can put all the guys' eyes on Saquon. Also, the Eagles need, or Jalen or whoever, they need to give him the ability when teams stack the box, which a lot of teams do. they still run right into it. Like, give them the opportunity to audible out of it, to hit a slant or hit a pass to a tight end, whatever it's going to be, because they've run into deep, and a lot of people are saying, and is Saquon the same as last year? No. But on how many of his carries where as soon as he touches the ball, he has to make a move? The offensive line hasn't been good either. They're not blocking anybody. He gets the ball from Jalen, and he has to cut one way or the other, and that takes away any forward momentum he has. So Saquon has to be better, and the offensive line has to be better, and Kevin Patullo definitely has to be better calling plays.
Yeah.
Because them breaking the huddle and only having 7 seconds on the play clock has got to stop.
I was about to make that point. Watching Sunday night's game and watching Monday night's game, to see the play, to see them break huddle, a team break huddle with like 15 seconds left and snap the ball on some occasions between 7 and 10 seconds, and we're only getting to the line with 7 seconds left in the play clock. What are you doing? Like, what is up with the way you're calling plays that you can't mirror some of the stuff that these other play callers are doing? Like, is it just that you're not, like you've said in past episodes, are you not thinking ahead? Are you not setting up the next play before it happens? Like, because I understand you're not going to be Kyle Shanahan. I get it. But to that same, or Sean McVay, but to that same point, you can simplify the playbook in a way that allows you to get out there, because like this comment says here, hopefully clean football, limit the penalties. The Eagles are on pace for like a 17-game season, like 30, I want to say it was 35 penalties. And I looked back, the data's back to 2009. They have never had that many penalties in a 16/17 game season. They've had it through 19 and 21 games, but never that many in a 16 or 17 game season. Like, they had, and I think that would become a lot. We'd see a lot less offensive line penalties if they broke the huddle earlier and if they gave the opportunity to get comfortable. By the time you're up at the line of scrimmage, you're ready to make the false start, because you're probably in your mind knowing, man, counting down the clock. Okay, we're at 3, we're at 2, we're at 1, and you get jumpy and you get nervous.
And that also helps the defensive line, because they see the clock coming, they can get a jump off the ball, and get after Jalen. So again, I think I said it on Monday. Tool has to be 2-3 plays ahead. You need to know what you're going to do if you were passing it and it's incomplete pass. If we pass it and it's a first down. If we pass it, we're short of the 6. If we're running it and he gets tackled in the backfield. You're running it and he gets 5 yards. You're running it and he gets a first down. You have to have all this in your mind, and you have to be prepared. And after the opening script, Patullo has no idea what he's doing.
Well, exactly. Because the opening script, things are working and they're connecting and it's good. And he's like, okay, I don't have to think. I don't have to pivot elsewhere. It's perfect. But after that, you can tell he's a rookie play caller. You can tell he's never called plays before. It feels like he's never been a part of any type of setting up how they're going to call plays or been a part of any offensive meeting, because it feels like he just does not know what he's doing and does not know how to script a game or understand what to do with the next play. And that is what's taken so long. And at this point, that's the only reason that makes justifiable sense, is that he's just not thinking more than one play ahead. And then he's stuck there looking at his playbook. And by the time it hits 15 seconds, he's calling the play in. And then by then you're breaking at 7 and you have no time left to do anything.
And it can't be 15 seconds because the communication between the quarterback and the play caller shuts out. So he definitely needs to figure it out.
So it's more like probably at 17 seconds, he's getting the final comments in, and boom.
And who knows how long the verbiage is on these play calls. It's probably not long. And look, there are guys, I mean, Stanford's season ends this week. Frank Reich is the coach there. He's only going to be the coach there for this year, helping out Andrew Luck. Maybe Frank Reich will come in as an offensive consultant. Don't think it'll be Daboll. There's been a lot of bad things said about Brian Daboll, so I don't think that's going to happen. But if they struggle again tomorrow and Patullo struggles, and believe me, the fans will let them know something's going to need to change going forward in the rest of the season. All right. As we are winding down, let's get to our players to watch, our keys to the game, and then we'll get our prediction, but also we'll get to our unheralded player of the week for week 12 in the NFL. So you can go ahead, Connor, with your players and keys to the game.
Well, my key to the game on offense is simple. Just like you said earlier in the episode, like we've kind of been saying throughout this episode, just Get back to basics. Dumb this offense down. Make some plays. Make it make sense out there. Like, make the plays connect onto each other, and you're actually creating a sensible drive down the field instead of going 3-and-out, 3-and-out, 3-and-out. Because like we saw against the Dallas Cowboys, for what was it, 5 or 6 plays, we were 2 minutes, and then you're forcing your defense back out there. They're exhausted, they're winded, they're getting banged up because they're making bad decisions. They're running into each other. They're not the same defense that we know they can be because they're exhausted and they just can't keep up with the pace when they're out there for 4 or 5 minutes, and then they're out for 2, but then right back out there again for 4 or 5 minutes. It's tiring for them, and it can lead to defenses not being effective, making mistakes, and looking out of character like they were looking this past week. So, dumb it down. Get back to basics. Just connect on some passes. Get Saquon finding holes, Bigsby finding holes, open up some simple holes, make it just simple. We don't need to see 30-yard runs from Saquon Barkley on every play like it feels like everybody's waiting for. It's so frustrating because even Saquon, like at this point, stop bouncing around, stop looking for the big play, hit the hole, make the play. It just back to basics on the offensive side of the ball. As for the player I'm watching on the offensive side of the ball, it's going to be whoever's matched up against Montez Sweat. We want to make sure that Jalen Hurts is clean, has a cleaner pocket, is comfortable, has time to make his decision, has time to make his play. And if you can keep Montez Sweat gobbled up out there, that also makes him not a threat to force fumbles and put you in situations where you may turn the ball over. So gonna be, I don't know how they have him mapped out on the depth chart. He lines up on the left side, which would put him up against Fred Johnson in theory, but obviously he probably goes to both sides of the defensive line. So it'll be on both Fred Johnson and Jordan Mailata, who Johnson's not overly experienced. He's a swing tackle, and Mailata is not having a good season at all. So it's going to take one of their better performances by both of them to keep Montez Sweat off of the stat sheet. Defensively, it's going to be, no penalties, just a fundamentally sound game. Keep the play in front of you. You don't have to make the tackle right away. You don't have to charge right in and make the hit. Keep the play in front of you and make sure that you're making the right decision and making the play. Because like you said, Caleb Williams could come right up to the line of scrimmage, see someone and make a throw. And, a guy like Reed could be barreling down, shooting like a heat-seeking missile to make a tackle, and then it's all for nothing. Keep the play in front of you, be fundamentally sound. I think that we're going to see some points given up, hopefully not to the same yardage and points to the same extent of the Dallas Cowboys game, but it's going to be important to just be fundamentally sound and make those plays. No penalties. Try your best not to have those penalties. As for the defensive player that I'm going to be watching, I am going to go with Jalen Carter. The Chicago Bears offensive line is not as good as the Dallas Cowboys, and Jalen Carter was almost non-existent against the Cowboys, did not look all that great. There's some highlight reel plays where there's a rookie just taking him to school. So I think this is another
He did get held a lot in that game.
He did get held a lot. Agreed.
He does in every game.
Like he does in every game. That's not going to change. So it's just going to be important. Get that bull rush going, push that defender back, and make Caleb Williams move off of his platform, and hopefully there's some pressure coming. We just need to get pressure again, because the Dallas Cowboys game, it felt like Dak Prescott could just eat a sandwich and then throw the ball back there. It was crazy how much time he was given and zero pressure was getting there. So Jalen Carter, that defensive line, have to get home and get some pressure, have to make Caleb Williams uncomfortable. So those are my keys to the game and key.
And I think on the one play to Pickens that he beat DeJean and Sidney Brown, all 4 defensive linemen got held and there was no flag. And I saw a video of that. Well, I think it was safe to say Jerry's check cashed that day.
There's going to be misses by the refs too. It's important on that point. We've been on the favorable side of them too. So
on the offensive side of the ball for Eagles, my player to watch is Jalen Hurts. This is going to have to be a Jalen game, depending on what the weather's like. I think we're going to see more running from Jalen this game, more QB draws, and just getting him out into space. And the key is all the procedural penalties that we saw last week just cannot happen. We know Jalen is going to protect the football because that's what he does. He's conservative by nature. So he's not going to put it into harm's way. He's not going to, unless he gets hit as he's throwing it, He's not going to throw the ball in the double coverage or have it floating out there. He doesn't want to do that. So I think Jalen, we're going to probably see like an anytime touchdown, just because, again, the Eagles always seem to get tackled down at the 1 yard line, and tush push is almost as good as any play, at converting, almost, I would say. If we get into a situation where the Eagles have a 3rd and 2 and they're going to throw it, Jalen cannot take a bad sack like he did last week. And so I'm going with Jalen Hurts on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, also on the offensive ball, would not shock me if the Bears blitz CJ/GJ a lot. They've been doing that a lot. He has been really good for the Bears since he's gotten there. Again, another reason why I wanted the Eagles to bring him back. He would look really good again in our secondary, but we're neither here nor there. I'm still a huge CJ/GJ fan. I just hope he doesn't have that great of a game this week against us. On the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to go with Nakobe Dean. He's been really good since he's been back, and I love when he blitzes, he's a man on a mission. He's going to run through. He ran through Javonte Williams last week, ran through Montgomery the week before. This week it would be Swift from Monangai, who's going to have to attempt to block him if they get a one-on-one. We'll see what happens there. And I also think that if the Eagles were to spy Caleb Williams, and again, he doesn't run, he doesn't like move around to run. He moves around just to give his receivers more of an opportunity. I think he might be the guy that keeps an eye on him. So I'm going to go with Nakobe Dean, and I'm going to, the key to the game is just going to be, like you said, don't allow yaks. Like, you're going to give up catches, that's fine. Tackle them like after they get it. Don't allow the receivers for Chicago, make a move, get down the field, get some big plays. Keep a 5 yard gain to a 5 yard gain, not a 5 yard gain to a 15, 20 yard gain. So do that, and we'll see what happens with the outcome of the game.
Yeah, like you said, CJ/GJ, just looking at it, 4 games in Chicago, 3 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 4 quarterback hits, just for point of how effective he's been, how good he is when he gets in that spot that he's happy to be in, that's using him the way he wants to be used.
I mentioned it, I'm still a huge CJ/GJ fan. All right, let's go to our unheralded player of the week for week 12 in the NFL. We're not talking about the Josh Allens, Lamar Jacksons, Patrick Mahomes. We're talking about some under the radar type guys that help their team in one way or the other. It can be in a win, which is what I usually pick. It can be in a loss. Connor's done that a couple of times over the years. Connor, do you want to go first?
Sure. I am going to go with Emmanuel Wilson from the Green Bay Packers. Emmanuel Wilson helped the Green Bay Packers get a victory over division rival Minnesota Vikings. 28 carries, 107 yards, 2 touchdowns in relief of Josh Jacobs, who was out with an injury. I mean, I've always been of the ilk that any running back in Matt LaFleur's offense is going to be really good because he's been able to do great things with
Shanahan.
Same with Shanahan. Those offenses are built in a way that almost any running back can be effective and good in there. So I'm going with Emmanuel Wilson. Big reason for that victory over the Minnesota Vikings and burying the Vikings. The Vikings definitely made the wrong choice at quarterback. Definitely made the wrong choice at quarterback. It's pretty apparent. They could have had Darnold. They could have had Daniel Jones. They let them both go off. And now look, Daniel Jones is head of one of the top AFC teams, and Sam Darnold's quarterback of one of the top NFC teams. So what does that say?
We'll see if Daniel Jones comes back to earth. I'm not a believer in either of them, but we'll see. I'm going with Davis Mills of the Texans. When he won his 3rd straight game in replacement of injured CJ Stroud. He only went 16 of 30 for 153 yards, 2 touchdowns, but they were able to defeat the Bills 23-19. They're making a run in that AFC South as they were able to win their 3rd straight, keep themselves in playoff contention. All right, Connor, we are both 6-5 coming into this week picking Philadelphia Eagles games. It's the 8-3 Eagles hosting the 8-3 Bears, a blackout at Lincoln Financial Field, black helmets, black jerseys, black pants, Black Friday. What is your prediction?
This is a tough one. I am giving the Eagles a W, and I'm going to go 24-21. I've been on the higher side of scoring lately, and it just isn't happening. So I'm done picking the Eagles to put up a lot of points because they definitely haven't proven any reason to believe in them. Before you do it, TJ Woo-Wit, Bears 23, Eagles 21. What do you got, El?
I have 21-17 Eagles. And again, the Bears have had 5 comebacks this year, so obviously a close game like this does worry me with the way the Bears have been able to win games. This is a very important game in the NFC. Depending on what happens with Dallas later today, if Dallas loses and the Eagles win tomorrow, they're just one step away, one step closer from clinching the NFC East, with Dallas having Detroit next week and the Eagles going to LA. But
don't give Caleb Williams the ball last.
Yeah,
that's the key. Do not give him that ball on the last drive.
Don't give Ben Johnson's offense the ball last, because he has something up his sleeve with finding ways to get his receivers open. But I'm going to say 21-17. The Eagles squeak away another one, and we'll all need to go to cardiologists afterwards, especially after you all eat your turkey today. And I say it like that because I'm not a turkey fan. I'd much rather have chicken, but that's just me. Thank you all for tuning into this Thanksgiving edition of the Kelly Green Hour. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Chicago Bears, both at 8-3, are set to do battle on Black Friday live from Lincoln Financial Field. We'll be back on Monday with a review of the Black Friday game between the Bears and the Eagles. As always, follow us on Twitter at Kelly Green Hour. Follow Connor on Twitter at Connor10. Follow me on Twitter at LJRL54, and follow the Eagles Pinpool Network on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and wherever you get your podcasts at Eagles Pinpool Network. For Connor, I'm LJ. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Kelly Green Hour.
Fly, Eagles, fly.